How's it going, everyone? Cuppa Anime Joe here. Today, we're going to do something a little different from what I've normally done on this channel and cover the SBS segments. This is SBS 115. Now, if you don't happen to know what these are, this is a segment, a thing that Oda does through Shueisha, where fans of One Piece can write questions into Oda. He gets way more than he can actually answer, but he selects the ones that stick out to him the most and gives answers to those questions. We get a lot of information about the story through SBSs that Oda simply can't include directly in the manga. So with that, we're going to read through the questions and answers here. I got these through Piece on Twitter, and he credited the Will of Marco as the one who translated these. So thank you to both of them. I will leave links to both of their Twitter accounts in the description of this video. Please check them out. And with that, let's get started with the initial round of questions. Reader: whose panties is Shanks peeking at in his wanted poster? Next. Okay, jokes aside. Oda. He's not looking at any. Go get beaten up by Shanks fans. Typical. So, one thing, I've watched a lot of SBS videos. I've read past SBSs, even though this is my first time speaking on them myself. I have noticed a trend. Oda's a pervert. We probably all know this from reading One Piece. And one trick to getting your questions answered in an SBS segment is either just ask a gag question like this first one, or ask a real question and then tack on something perverted at the end to like dangle the carrot, right? To entice Oda to answer your question. On to the next one. Reader. We have the reader who did this, Omanama 2. Odachi, you can rest easy now. I sprayed some Sanada repellent spray. Sanada won't be showing up anymore. Oda. Whoa, they actually sell something like that? Thanks. That really helps. Now, my understanding, Sanada is a repeat questioner who gets into SBS segments a lot. I kind of have a feeling this is intentional. I don't know if Sanada is somebody Oda knows, if Sanada is Oda's way of sneaking his own questions that he wants to answer into the SBS segments. But one thing is for certain, Sanada shows up a lot. And so people frequently joke about this quote-unquote Sanada repellent spray that keeps them at bay from the SBS questions. You're going to see here, though, that it does not always work. Reader, you guessed it, Sanada. Quiz time. What is Nami's special technique? Number 1, boob press. Number 2, boob slap. And number 3, boob beam. Okay, well, come on, Sanada. Nami's not Frankie. In any case, what does Oda have to say? It is a tough choice, but I'd definitely be happiest with the boob press. Wait, that's not it. Sanada? Hey, Omanama 2. That spray isn't working at all. Quick, spray more of it. Psh, 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 psh. Look, he multiplied. Sanada multiplied. 3 questions down. On to number 4. Reader, whom we don't get a name for. If there is a country where the long-armed tribe lives, like the Tena Gena Kingdom, which translates to arms are so long, is there also a kingdom where the long leg tribe lives? Also, I heard there used to be a kingdom on Ruskaina, and I'd love to know its name. Oda's response is as follows. Yes, the long leg tribe's country is the Ashina Ganawan Kingdom. Gain one. It's going to be on the screen, even though I can't pronounce it. But it translates to your legs are long, aren't they? The former kingdom on Ruskaina was the Odenkana Kingdom. And that one translates to, oh, so you were here. 2 things I'd like to point out for this one. Oda loves puns. Any reader of One Piece, any watcher of One Piece is likely familiar of this. So a lot of his naming schemes for characters, for places, and the like are some kind of direct description or pun on what the individual is doing or the type of race that lives in the country. This happens a lot more with minor characters than it does with major characters, right? But we get a perfect example of this through the country names of the long leg and the long arm tribes. Ruskaina is the island where Rayleigh trained Luffy during the time skip, where the giant animals lived and kind of had control over everything. And so we don't really know the history behind the kingdom on Ruskaina, or at the very least, I'm not aware of it. But it seems they got overrun by the island's large animals. Question number 5. Reader, whom we also don't get a name for. I always look forward to reading your work. I have a question regarding Gloriosa. Is she modeled after Brigitte Bardot? Oda, whoa, you noticed. That's exactly right. If you look her up online, you'll see it instantly and totally get it. In the first place, Elder Neon's features were referenced based on the concept of what happens when a beautiful woman grows old. So she is modeled after the youth and later years of that beautiful French actress. And yeah, another pretty common thing with One Piece, and I'm going to wager media in general, is a lot of Oda's characters are modeled after real life individuals. This is an example of this. Let me actually pull up a couple other examples of this, and we're going to use the admirals for this one. And we're going to have 2 examples for this one. Former Admiral Aokiji and current Fleet Admiral Sakazuki. So Aokiji, or Kuzan, is modeled after the legendary Japanese actor Yosaku Matsuda. And Oda based the admiral's look and appearance, coupled with his laid-back, imposing demeanor, on this actress, who I will put a photo of on the screen. Now, current Fleet Admiral Akainu, or Sakazuki, is modeled after another legendary Japanese actor, Bunta Sugawara. And the traits he took from him were the actor's tough, uncompromising, and rugged persona. And we're going to have an image of him on the screen as well. And yeah, that just gives some examples of how Oda likes to base his characters off of existing people in our world. We move to question number 6. Reader, is Polo Graham, who appeared in chapter 1165, Marco's father? When you connect their names, I discovered a Marco Polo wordplay. And Oda's response, yes, there's no hiding it anymore, is there? Ha ha ha. That's correct. That means Marco's full name is actually Polo Marco. At the time of the God Valley incident, Marco was already born, but he wasn't a pirate yet. Following the death of Graham, who became Whitebeard's partner from that point onward, Whitebeard took his son, Marco, onto the ship, and Marco eventually grew to become his most trusted right-hand man. So this confirms a couple things for us, right? One, this is a great example of information that's relevant but wasn't fully included in the story itself. The first thing is that Polo is in fact dead. This is something a lot of us kind of thought was going to be the case. One, because of flashback parents, even though Polo is a father, not a mother, but also because he is not prevalent, he's not a part of the current story. The second thing is that he is in fact Marco's father. He's not his uncle, he's not his older brother, he is directly the father. This was also kind of speculated on in the community when that chapter first came out, because he looks like Marco, or Marco looks like him. They both have the pineapple head. And just the wordplay, the Marco Polo wordplay, lines up perfectly with Oda's love for puns, which we went over earlier. And now, on to the next question. Now, for question 7, something that I, and surely many, many readers, have been waiting for such a long time. Let us get into it. Reader, Oda-sensei, I have a question. What exactly are the only 5 types of flying ability confirmed in the world that Pell mentioned? There are so many abilities that allow for flight now that I'm totally confused. Please, Oda, tell me, tell us, Oda, the people, they want to know. Well, Oda does not let us down. Cutting right to the core, are we? A lot has been said about this over the years, but looking at it from my perspective, how on earth is anyone in that world supposed to know every piece of information across the entire globe? Like, who is out there researching exactly how many people in the Tontata tribe can fly? What a brilliant example, because I sure as hell wouldn't be. So, the official in-universe answer is that was simply the extent of what Pell had heard. However, this line actually held a different meaning for me personally. It was a line meant to keep myself in check, reminding me, you can think up as many flying abilities as you want, but do not overuse them. Culturally and scientifically speaking, technologies have appeared where you think, why don't you guys just build an airplane? But it's a worldview that stops just short of developing in that direction. Why? Because this is a pirate manga, a goofy pirate manga. To stay true to the theme of the sea and sailing ships, I couldn't let it become a world where everyone is just buzzing around in the air. That was the sentiment behind writing that line. Moving forward, I will maintain the stance that flying is a rare and exceptional thing. And I mean, this has been memed on for so long. I'm not certain if this is truly a retcon or if it's Oda just tiptoeing around. My thought process on this is, Alabasta was being written in between, I think it was 1998 or 1999 and 2002. That is 26 plus years ago. There's just no way that Oda 26 years ago was going to be able to foresee that One Piece would still be going on and would still be as popular as it is so many years later. So, maybe at the time there really was going to only be 5. And that has steadily increased over time, but that is also because of the amount of time that has passed. It's still great to hear, though, an actual explanation, and it does kind of make sense, right? Unless you're Big Mom, who is said to have the largest information network, or even a Yonko in general, even if you're a high-ranking official of a kingdom like Pell was, there's simply no way to know everything about every devil fruit in the entire world, right? Not even all the devil fruits probably have been discovered and used. And so maybe it would have been more appropriate for Pell to say that he is only aware of 5 types of flying fruits, or fruits that allow for flying, rather than being there are only 5. In any case, we finally have our answer. The next Pell question that we need answered is, how in the world did he survive that bomb? But that's an answer for another day. Before we continue, if you like my channel, if you like my videos, or hearing what I have to say, or maybe you simply love my beard, I would invite you to like and subscribe to the channel. Many of the people who watch this video, they are not subscribed, and you know what? That's fine. People should do what they want. I can't argue there. But what I can say is I would greatly appreciate any form of interaction. Likes, subscribing, following, hit the bell icon. It is all very important for small channels, which mine most assuredly is. Now, with that shameless self-plugging out of the way, back to your regularly scheduled programming. On to question number 8. At least I think it's 8. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. This one has heavily to do with that wordplay again, and I don't know Japanese well enough, or at all, really, for real in-depth explanations as to this, but we get a little bit of an example. So here's the question from the reader. Hello, Oda-san. Regarding Shamrock's birthday, since he's trying to make Elbaf suffer a terrible fate, and here we have San, which I think is 3, has to have something to do with making Elbaf suffer the terrible fate, and he seems like he'd like cucumbers. Kyuri-Kyu, which is paired with 9. So again, that 9 must have something to do with the pronunciation or the reading of cucumbers. How about March 9th, 3-9? And Oda's response is, he's Shanks' twin. So March 9th is already set in stone, right? The cucumbers are irrelevant. And I don't have much more to add on this one. Again, I've seen Oda a lot of times do the sort of things like bounties. Bounties are another good example of this, where an individual's number, the way their bounty number can be read, somewhat reflects who they are as a person. I don't have the exact example of this on hand right now, but I think Luffy's is similar. One of Blackbeard's might be similar. Roger's might be similar. This is a similar example to that, except used for a birthday. And we don't know if this was intentional, as the reader brings up, or if this just is because Oda picked March 9th for Shanks' birthday. Shamrock, who is his twin, well, naturally was born on the same day. Again, if you have more to add to this than what I know, and you very well might, sound off in the comments below. Question number 9 is about Mr. Rocksteady Zebek. Let us see what the reader has to say. Odachi Hesso, please give us some detailed information on Rocksteady Zebek, like his age, favorite foods, and least favorite foods. Oda, sure, I got you. His height is 435 centimeters, 14 feet 3 inches. So by non-giant standards, Rocks is huge. He's a monster. His age during the God Valley incident was 43. If he were alive today, he'd be 81, making him 7 years older than Whitebeard. His favorite foods are Yamin Abe, dark/mystery hot pot, so he wants to be surprised by his hot pot. Whole roasted lamb, and strong Bacardi rum. His least favorite foods are cheese and milk. And I mean, this is cool, right? A lot of times Oda never includes details like these in the story. I'm not even sure we get ages in the story. I think it's always through Vivi Records or SBS segments, extra outside material where we get character descriptions such as this. And Rox is big. He's a lot bigger than I thought he was. I mean, I guess I should have figured that he was pretty big. Let's give a couple examples here. How tall is Whitebeard? Wait, Whitebeard was taller? 21 feet 10 inches? 666 centimeters? And I thought Rox was tall. What about Big Mom? Big Mom is even bigger. 880 centimeters, 28 feet 10 inches. Sheesh. Okay, you know what? All right, I was wrong. I stand corrected. Rox is more moderately sized in the grouping of large individuals in the story. The Straw Hats don't really count. They're like far more normal sized than a lot of the other characters. But yeah, Rox was still pretty big, not quite peeking into giant territory. I don't even think Big Mom is quite making it to giant sized territory yet. And this brings us to the final question of this SBS segment, at least of the ones for Oda and that were translated. Reader, the voice actor for Joy Boy is Urara Takano, isn't it? Miss Takano is the very first person in the world to ever voice Luffy. I heard about this the other day. I thought it was really cool. Here, we get Oda's answer. That's absolutely right. Usually, when it comes to vital characters, audition audio files are sent to me so I can make the final choice. However, for Joy Boy, I actually made a direct request myself. Miss Urara Takano is the one who voiced Luffy in the special OVA produced for events before the current Toei Animation One Piece anime even began broadcasting. Now, I wonder why exactly I said she would be perfect for this role. And Oda, he ends us off with this. Well, since this volume features a special SBS with the new voice actor for Frankie, Subaru Kimura, my section of the SBS ends here. See you in the next volume. None of the rest of it is translated. If I can find the questions for Frankie's VA translated, perhaps I'll do a follow-up to this video. It's just going to depend on if I can get that or not. If not, well, we end our first SBS video here. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Again, this is my first time reading through the SBS segment and actually making a recorded video of it. But I know they're pretty popular, and I wanted to try my hand at it as well. Again, subscribe, like, sound off in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you all have to say. And with that, I would like each and every one of you to have an excellent rest of your day.